Hello everybody and welcome to today's training provided by The Paperless Agent. I'm Chris Scott.
And this is Gary Kreth. Welcome.
And we're talking today about listing scripts and secrets, those of a top agent.
Now, this is, I mean, tongue-in-cheek there, but the reality is that Chris and I have both been working for almost 2 decades in the real estate world, and we're going to share with you all of the listing scripts and secrets that we have come up with and mastered over the past 2 decades. Now, as people are coming on here, Chris, maybe we could do a little housekeeping and share with everybody what's going to happen, because we're going to be talking for the next 60 minutes. We're going to be training.
Well, I don't like to think of what we do as talking.
Right, okay.
I like to think of what we're doing as we're going to share. We're going to share. We're actually going to try and achieve 4 objectives during our time together today. We want to be able to share with everyone so that they can learn some new scripts and techniques to get listing appointments. I think that's always a top priority. I know it is for us, so it's always a top priority is getting those listing appointments and securing those listings. But we also want to share with everybody some of the templates that we use and send out to clients before a listing appointment. So you get the listing lead or get the listing appointment opportunity, and then there's stuff that we do before the actual listing appointment, and then of course there's scripts and templates that we use
during the actual
appointment. And then who couldn't use a couple extra closing strategies just to make sure that you walk away with a signed agreement?
I'd take them. So that's what we're going to do over the next 60 minutes is we're going to share all of this with you. Then we're going to talk about some additional tools and resources available at your disposal. And then for the next 30 minutes, we're going to do a deep dive into Q&A. So what we really want you to do, this is highly interactive. We need you to engage with us here. We want you to participate by asking your questions in the chat section. So go into the chat section, pose your question, and then our team will flag them so we can answer them during the Q&A.
Excellent. Well, while they're doing that, Gary, but right before we get started, if this is the first time you're joining us, I wanted to take a New York minute here to be able to introduce who we are. Is that a thing, a New York minute?
It is, I think so.
This is Gary Kreth. Gary is a sales and business development expert. You've been selling real estate for, 21 years now,
21 now.
So Gary's been a top producing real estate professional here in the real estate space. I always like to think of Gary as the quintessential real estate entrepreneur because he is not only working to help home buyers and sellers buy and sell homes in in the Austin market here. He's also a commercial and residential real estate investor. In fact, he's even a real estate tech investor advisor. Get this, guys. I think it was back in 2012 that Gary was recognized by none other than Apple Computer. Apple Computer came out, they filmed a whole case study on the work that Gary was doing, specifically just using mobile devices and how he had integrated this entire workflow of being able to work digitally, but being able to do so in serving real estate customers. And so Gary's going to be sharing with us all of that experience. Now, here's the thing that you guys are going to really want to take away from, and if I could just leave this little mental impression on you. At the height of Gary's listing career, Gary was going on 6 listing appointments a week, all right? Not 6 a month, 6 listing appointments a week. He did take 1 day off, right? It's good to take a day off.
It's good to rest and relax and recover and be ready for the next week.
But going on 6 listing appointments a week is where he's honed these scripts. It's where he's honed these templates and skills that we're going to be sharing with you guys today.
Excellent. And my partner in crime here, this is Chris Scott. Chris is the digital marketing expert in the real estate world. And in fact, Chris, you've been in marketing real estate for real estate professionals and helping us as realtors market our properties and brand ourselves for almost 19 years now.
Yes, since July 1999.
There you go. And he started his career as the head of consumer marketing for Brian Buffini for 11 years. More recently, he came to Austin and ran the sales and marketing division for a 2-time Inc. 500 winning company. That is a huge accomplishment and feather in the cap for Chris. And now, Chris, you are managing pages with over 200,000 fans and generating over not 4, but 6,000 leads a month online. So a lot of what we're talking about here could not be done without having the marketing expertise next to me. So you're going to want to really pay attention to the knowledge that Chris is going to drop on you today.
Well, Gary, I like to just dive right in.
Let's do it.
Okay, so Here's how I've set this presentation up. First, we're going to talk about scripts to get listing appointments. Now, these are more than just scripts. These are really conversation points, and then in some cases, there's some technique involved as well. I find the best way to do this is just to dive right in, and let's try and explain to everybody the context for using these different scripts. You know, when it comes to getting listing appointments in the first place, or generating listing leads, or getting listing appointments, one of the things that we must understand is that we have to interact with the market, right? We can't get listing appointments sitting in isolation. We can't get listing appointments sitting there waiting for the phone to ring.
And we can't get listing appointments by actually just answering the phone and saying, hey, yes, I'd love to come out and see your house. When can we do that? You've got to actually do quite a bit more than that.
So one of the places where you do have an opportunity to interact with the market is at an open house.
Yes.
You know, they might not be there to buy that house, and they might tell you that they're not there to buy a house, but trust me, more people who come to an open house are going to buy a home in the next 12 to 18 months than the ones who are just hanging out, because people don't go to open houses to hang out. I'm afraid that's just not the way it works.
Now, I do want to share something here, Chris. I've been selling real estate for 21 years. I still enjoy the opportunity of hosting an open house because every single time I do that, I generate at least new client lead, and I brand myself in a neighborhood. So, and one other thing I want to share with you is if you're a brand new agent or you don't have any listings right now, that's not relevant because you can still talk to other agents and host their listings open. So this is relevant for you as well.
Many people, Gary, have the experience of doing an open house and it not working. I was going to say it sucked, but you know, I went with the word. I guess I used both.
And that's actually why people stop hosting open houses. Is they're like, well, the buyer leads, they won't give me information anymore. Well, I can't convert anybody.
You know, I wanted to share a story. If you could relay a story to everybody. So the most common thing I notice, and you have shared with me, is that when it comes to interacting with the market at an open house, for example, most folks, I will say, most folks say the wrong stuff. They ask the wrong questions, they say the wrong stuff. So here's what happens. They go to the open house and they're like, what'd you think of the house? And they're like, blah, 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 and they try to get out of the house, right? And so the person's like, well, if you need anything, just, okay, bye, see ya. So you had a listing. It was one of the waterfront properties down by the lake, right?
Jackson Street.
On Jackson Street. And you hosted, it was more than just an open house. It was almost like a party of sense.
It was an event, and that's what I like to make my open houses, is an event.
So, you know, we did Facebook ads to market that thing. We did postcards, and we had people show up. But you had somebody helping you, another real estate agent helping you.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was about a 7,500 square foot house. So I wanted to make sure that I had somebody from my team on the lower level. I was on the upper level, so we could manage the flow.
So you had like a little table set out by the pool on the patio, right? And you were just kind of relaxing, observing, taking it all in, and you noticed that this agent that was helping you walked up to some people, had some kind of exchange of information, and then walked away. Can explain to me what happened there?
Well, so I walked up to the agent and I said, so can you share with me what just happened? And she goes, oh yeah. I mustered up the courage. I went up and I said, so can I get you a bottle of water? And they said, yeah, that'd be great. So I got him some water, and then I said, well, let me know if you have any questions.
Ooh. Okay, that seems like a pretty normal thing to say, right?
It's very typical, but we need to go atypical here. So a lot of what you're going to see here today is we are trying to differentiate ourselves a lot from everybody else in the market. So this is what I did.
So you actually said, time out, I got to go fix this.
Absolutely.
What did you do?
I walked up to the couple and I said, hi, thank you so much for joining us here at our event. You know, I like to keep track of my marketing efforts. Do you mind if I ask, how did you hear about this event?
What'd they say?
They said, oh, we received the postcard in the mail that you sent out. I said, oh, great. Does that mean you live in the neighborhood? Of course it does, because I sent it to 500 people in the neighborhood. And they said, oh, yeah, we live right down the street. And I said, oh, great. Do you mind if I ask, are you thinking of moving? And they said, oh, no. We're just here to check this out for some friends who are from Houston who want to buy a lake house. And I was like, aha.
We found the buyer.
We found the buyer. And so then what I did is I made another offer of help. Say, okay, well, fantastic. You know, if you think that this is a fit for them, why don't I send you the video with drone video and the wonderful photos and the whole website that I've created, so you can send that on to them. Or I'm happy to do it directly.
So the key with this script then is that you want to interact, but you want to ask a question that is designed to give you information about their situation and circumstance.
Absolutely. I need to find out where they are, what is their situation, and I very quickly found out that they're not an actual potential buyer, but their friends are.
Right. So asking the right questions at an open house, most of us just don't ask the right questions.
Right.
We don't really interact with the market.
And this is why, is that we believe the offers of help that we're giving them are sufficient.
Well, what's an offer of help? Is this making an offer to buy a house? What are you
No,
talking
no, no.
about
Okay, so an offer of help is understanding first, Chris, what your concerns are. And when I say concerns, what are your wants, your needs, your desires, your fears, all of these things around making a move.
Gotcha.
And the only way I can find that out is by asking questions.
Gotcha.
So I need to find out what your concerns are and then make an offer of help to satisfy that concern.
So in this example, you found out the concern was for their friend.
The concern was for their friend, and so what I did is I made an offer of help that would make them look good to their friend, and then would offer the help to their friend so that they could reach out to me and schedule a tour.
You generated a qualified lead at
Absolutely.
that point
You
in
got
the
it.
process of that exchange. All right, so that's one script. Let's do another one, because I know during the process of networking, you go do networking events, you guys probably interact. People, what's a question that you always get asked?
The number one question that people ask me when I'm out networking is, hey Gary, how's the market? They know we're in real estate, they know you're in real estate, and I know you can relate because they ask you this question too. And quite often, what we say is, oh, the market's great, it's really hot. And we shut down the conversation.
Now, I know that that's not engaging in dialogue
No.
with the marketplace, right? When people ask you that question, a lot of them, sometimes it might be they're just creating conversation, but statistically, there's going to be a percentage of those people who will be moving in the next 12, 18, 24 months.
You got it. And so this is what we need to do. We need to actually have specific knowledge about the market, speak with them knowledgeably, and then ask questions.
All right, so let's role play a little bit.
Okay.
Hey, Gary, how's the market, man?
Oh man, Chris, I can't wait to share this with you. Did you know that the real estate market in Austin is up 14% this past month over this same month last year?
Wow,
It's up
that's
14%.
awesome.
It is.
That's awesome.
Hey, do you mind if I ask, are you aware that your home could have increased over 14% in the past year alone?
Well, that's pretty, I mean, we've been in our home for like 4 years now.
So 4 years. So have you thought about maybe cashing in on that appreciation and making a move?
Well, we have been talking about maybe moving into get a little bit more space.
So this is, and we're just role playing here. Sure, we're making this up, but this is what happens.
Right.
And so if you can convey that specific knowledge of, gosh, you have to know the stats first, and you just need to know one or two stats really, really well, and then say, gosh, you know what? Would you be interested in finding out how much your home has appreciated? I'm happy to offer that.
This
to
goes
you.
back to that making offers of help, right?
Absolutely.
And then the key here is asking the question. Now that you've relayed information, is to be able to ask questions. So like, hey, how long have you been in your home?
Have you thought about moving?
They might say, well, I don't own a home. Cha-ching, right?
Yep. Oh.
Or, yeah, I've been in my home 7 years. Well, did you know statistically people move every 4 to 5 years? Have you thought of moving in the future?
Yep.
And you know what, here's the thing. Have you thought of moving in the future?
Of course.
Everyone's thought of moving in the future.
I'm not asking if you're ready to move now. It's like, have you thought about making a move in the future?
Then, here's the thing though, you do these questions. Now, one of the things that we mentioned was making offers of help.
Right.
There's a little magic phrase that you use, because just asking the question, hey, have you thought about moving in the future? They'll say, yeah, we thought about moving in the future. We thought about doing this, maybe getting some more space. Here's a little magic phrase
Yes,
that Gary uses.
I use this phrase all the time. Well, gosh, could you tell me more about that? And it's an open-ended phrase, it's an open-ended question that allows them to direct the conversation wherever they want to take it. And this is what this is the power, is that as soon as I open up that door, guess what? They walk right through it.
Right, and now this is where you start to understand, is this person somebody who I might be able to help in the future? Is this somebody, because here's the thing, even if they're thinking of moving 12 to 18 months, don't you want to get them in your pipeline?
Absolutely. Right. I want to get them in the pipeline and start communicating with them in a way that shows them I'm the expert, and keeps me top of mind, so when they actually make that decision to do something, who do they call?
You.
Not Ghostbusters.
Well, I've got another script that I wanted to share, and this one is designed to interact with people who are in your sphere of influence, or people who are contacts within your database, or people who know you. It does require a little preparation, though, and so you encourage all of our clients and the agents that we work with to have some kind of real communication with their clients, people they know at least once a quarter, right?
So Chris, I recently moved, you know this, last November I guess I moved, and when I moved in I started getting magnets and football calendars from realtors in the neighborhood. And I saw that and I'm like, what do I do with this stuff?
Well, I mean, maybe you could use it.
No, okay, I throw it away. Because it's not relevant and it does not tie into what that real estate agent is trying to convey, and that is their professionalism. So those people are not top of mind. The people who stay top of mind are the people who send relevant information about real estate to the people in their database.
So one of the things that we encourage our clients to do is to share special reports related to real estate. Now, the next script I'm going to share with you relies on you sending information like this out from time to time. You don't want to just send this out once and then hope something's going to happen. You want to do this ideally on a monthly basis. So here's an example. You send out a special report on the home buyer's guide to getting mortgage ready. Here's another special report that we sent out on how to amp up the resale value of your home. And so this is just really useful information, whether they're thinking of buying or selling now. Not so important as they're seeing us provide this type of information that who would provide? An expert would provide, a real estate expert would provide. And then just saying, hey, if you know of somebody who's thinking of making a move, please pass this along. They might find this information useful.
So you just nailed a huge other thing there, is that this is not just about me staying relevant, sharing that I'm competent about real estate, and really staying top of mind. Is we are offering a referral tool.
Gotcha. So sending out a report like this is a referral tool. And here's what it enables you to do. It creates a context for a conversation so that you can call them up and say hello. Find out what the heck is going on in their lives.
Yes,
right?
So Chris, this is one thing that as I coach and manage other agents, is I find it fascinating that we get into real estate and our biggest fear is this.
Talking to people.
Our fear is picking up the phone, and here's why. Our fear is that they are going to reject us and say, no, I don't want your help. But here's the thing. That fear actually stems from something else, and that is that we don't have anything to talk about when we pick up the phone.
So if we send some useful information, now we've got something to talk about. We just send some information.
Absolutely.
We want to make sure you got it. Make sure if you have any questions that you can let me know.
And we always wrap up the conversation, whether it be via email or phone call, with an offer of help.
Right, so here is a script that would be sort of like a PS, or sort of just your closing statement, which is, after you've sent this out, you follow up and have an actual conversation. It's just like Brian Buffini would call this a little by the way, right?
I remember that. Yeah.
Or if you were signing a letter with this, it would be the little PS. ...
Yep.
Right? And it goes. Well, why don't you go? Why don't you read it?
So it goes like this. By the way, if you have friends or family members who could benefit from my Move Up Buyer program, please tell them about it. Because of you, I'd be happy to make this program available to them. So I just made them feel special and invited them to pass it along. And then the description and the value of that program is, and when they sell their home with me and buy another one within 90 days, I'll give them a 1% rebate on the purchase of their next home.
Gotcha.
All of a sudden,
they've got a reason to
They have a reason to refer me. And not only that, Chris, they look at this and they're like, oh gosh, what if we took advantage of this program?
Is that available to me?
Yes,
well,
right.
of course it is available to you.
So you're just offering value. Now, I don't want you to get hung up on our program. This is our Move Up Buyer program. This is what we offer to our customers. If it's not something that you're allowed to offer, or you don't want to offer that much, that's not
offer
relevant.
Something else.
Offer
right?
something. Yeah. And what this does is it helps you stay top of mind and it gives a referral tool for them to send on to somebody else.
You know, another version of this that we have that we include in a tool that I'm going to share with you shortly is our Home Buyer Direct Access program.
Yep.
Right, and that is really packaging up the services that you would provide anyone you're consulting as a buyer, but just giving it a cool name and developing a program around it. So if you can't do this type of thing, then do something. But you're really trying to give your client a reason to refer you and a gentle reminder that I can take care of you too, right? And so these are three different ways for you to be able to start scheduling more appointments. Now there's some work involved, right? But that's what gets the result. Right. There's a lot of other things that you could do that would be less effective in terms of generating a result. But if you're looking for right now type of business, these are the types of scripts, these are the types of strategies you want to employ.
And like Chris said, best practice is make sure that these go out every single month in the same week of the month. That's how you actually build trust, because if it's totally sporadic, it's like, why? Like they're all over the place, but once a month.
Well, if you want to have really good prospecting schedules, make sure you're doing at least one open house a month, ideally 2. And then be going to networking events, mixers, places where you're going to find and meet people so you can have the conversation about how's the market. And then on a regular basis, be sending useful information out to the people who are in your database, people who are connected to you in some way, shape, or form, and then follow up with that conversation. So if you do those things with good frequency, you'll get a result. It's not so much the timing as it is consistency, but when you do these things, you're going to get listing appointments. Then the question is, what do I do before the appointment?
Now hold on, before we get there, I do want to share that when you implement these practices into your own business, these are results. Now these are results from 2 individuals who I have privately coached in the past, is that when we had them implement this, they doubled. I'm not kidding. They doubled their business, and these aren't people who were selling 0 and you double it.
Right. They were selling already a significant amount of money.
They were selling. One was selling $6 million. The other one's selling $13 million. And so when they implemented these practices and these scripts and these dialogues and the monthly e-newsletter, they doubled their business.
So let's talk about what we send and what we say before the listing appointment. Because a lot of people, you get an opportunity and you're just like, let me get there, let's do this.
And I want to preface this by sharing some really important information, is that we do this to differentiate ourselves from the competition. Because Chris, in the past probably 5 years, I haven't gone on a single listing appointment where I hadn't had competition. I mean, I remember I went on this one listing appointment and I said, okay, so sign here. And she goes, well, you know, I'm actually interviewing a couple other agents. And I'm like, really, Mom? Like, you got to be kidding me. But the fact is that we have competition, and so we need to differentiate ourselves. And the very best time to do this is before the appointment, because if you can be top of mind and actually control all of that brain space when they're thinking about real estate and when they're talking to other realtors, you're going to win.
You know, I've heard it said that you win or lose a listing appointment before you actually show up.
Absolutely.
You know?
That's very
true. And so
true.
One of the things that you do, Gary, is you conduct what we're going to call an initial consultation. This is at least a 30-minute phone call that you have that you ask questions of the client.
No, I'm going to ask everybody here real quick. On average, just go over to the chat section and share with us, how long on average are you spending on the phone during an initial phone consultation with your sellers?
You know,
I'm really curious.
I'm curious, and here's one of the things that will be interesting to reveal is that, and I'm going to share this with you guys as you put the information in here. I don't know how you would really be able to prepare for your appointment without some really critical key pieces of information, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. So I'm seeing Francesca says 5 to 10 minutes, Robert is 5 to 20, Juan says 15 minutes tops, Annette says 30 to 45. I'm going to agree with Annette there. And we can, should we talk about why?
Yeah, why?
Because I can't gather enough information about who they are and what their concerns are so I can address them at the appointment in less than 30 minutes. It's just not possible.
Well, how would you know what to prepare, what information to gather, what to really go in understanding unless you have unless you understand certain things like what is their motivation for buying or selling,
Yep.
what is their motivation, what are they concerned about, right? All of these things you can't. If you're just addressing it and learning about it when you show up, there's no way you can really handle it, right?
I also want to talk about a principle called the time spent principle. The more time that you're able to spend with a customer, the less time they're able to spend with your competition.
Gotcha.
Which also means that the more time that your customer is investing in a conversation or talking or meeting with you, the less they want to meet with other people.
Gotcha.
I know this because I recently started interviewing new CPAs. And Chris, it's painful. I interviewed 3, and at the end of 3, I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I am done because I don't want to invest that time into that painful conversation anymore.
So the more time you put into, the more familiarity you develop.
Yep.
That all happens from that time spent, and the more likely to say, I'm just going to work with Gary.
And the more I'm able to differentiate myself and our firm from all the other realtors out there before I even show up.
So what kind of questions do you ask during your initial consultation?
So what you see here, I'm going to ask you, can you zoom in on that just a little bit so we can let people see this a little bit better? Okay, so this is my initial consultation form that I have, and it's a template, Chris. I create templates for everything that I'm going to do more than once. And so I'll ask them a lot of detailed questions, but I start very high level, and then the longer we're on the phone, the more they open up, the more intimate, the more detailed questions I'm going to ask.
Why do you structure it that way?
Well, psychologically, this is a sales psychology training right here, is that if you start high level and you just ask kind of mundane questions, how did you hear about me? What are the best times to reach you? What's the best way to contact you? You know, if you could share with me over the next 30 minutes, like, what do you want to accomplish? What are you currently interested in talking about? What that does is it starts building trust. And then once I have that trust built, then I can ask questions like, how much do you owe on your mortgage on your home?
All right, you don't want to lead off with that, right?
No, you can't lead off with that because I've tried.
Right, it introduces conflict almost immediately.
It's conflict, and they're immediately put up their guard, and they're like, why do you need that information? That's not relevant. What's my home worth? And I'm like, whoa, okay, what just happened here? So this is really important, is to start building trust like that by using a template. And then we really dive in, and this is why it takes a minimum of 30 minutes. More often than not, it's 45, is because ultimately, I want to find out what their ultimate objective is in selling a house.
So it's not just selling the house, it's to sell the house to do something, right?
To do something. And the reason this is important is that if I can, I call it like, if I can hold that and understand what their full, deep motivation is, I can then do a much better job for them.
Well, it's a big difference. If you think about it, if their real motivation, if the real concern is, I want to sell this home because I want to buy another one, is one sort of driving motivation. But you've had clients where they wanted to sell their home so they could downsize so they could put their kid through college.
Yes, and you know, that conversation, I said, gosh, well, why are you looking at selling your house? She said, oh, I need to move to a small town outside of Houston. I said, okay. And I could have stopped there.
Right.
I said, well, that sounds really important to you. Do you mind if I ask why? And she said, oh, well, I need to downsize so I have more cash available. And I said, okay, what are you going to do with that cash? She said, well, my husband died of cancer 3 months ago, and I promised him on his deathbed that I would send our son to the top grade school of his choice. And in order to hold that promise, I need to sell this house, get the cash out, buy a much smaller house so I have the funds available to send him to that school. All of a sudden, and she started crying. And truth be told, I started crying too. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, ah. But if you can get that connection with the client, it is so powerful because then all of a sudden your motivation changes because of what their motivation is.
All right, so we do the initial consultation, which prepares us for the listing appointment, but we also send a few tools out, right? One of the things that we sent out, and I'm going to talk more about this a little bit later, is we send out a property marketing plan.
Oh man, so this is probably one of the most powerful tools that we have in our arsenal. What do you want to explain to everybody?
It's just a detailed list of everything that we're going to do to market and sell their home. I want to talk about this a little bit later during today's presentation, but I also want to share another template or another tool that we share out that we share with clients, and it's an onboarding tool. It's an educational tool. We can provide this to not just customers, but we can provide this to people who we've worked with in the past so that they have a tool to refer us. And heck, we can send this out to prospects because now we can start treating our prospects like customers instead of treating them like two different people because they're the same person. So
they're the same person at just different times.
Just different times in the home buying selling process. So we have this client welcome kit, and it's pretty straightforward. Think of it as an onboarding document or a customer experience onboarding document, and it just contains information like, well,
who are we?
A little bit about us, right?
Who are we? What services do we offer? You know, and this is really important because what came to mind when you created this is that I was working with a lawyer, and they were doing our corporate documentation. And I also need a lawyer for something else. And I said, hey, could you refer me to somebody like that? And they're like, well, we do that too.
Oh.
And they handed me something like this. It's client welcome kit that explained all of the different services that they provided and who the experts in their firm were who do that.
And that's what we have in ours. Very similar. You know, we provide resources, educational resources if they want to buy a home. We want to let them know what the advantages of working with us are. We want to make direct offers of help. I had mentioned earlier that instead of offering a move-up homebuyer program, you can offer a homebuyer direct access program. And you know, if you read through this, you can see it's just the same stuff that we would provide on any kind of consultation. We want to let the people know that we sell homes and the advantages of selling homes with us. We want to give them educational resources for helping them understand what to do when they sell their home. We want to make direct offers of help, as Gary had mentioned before, in this case, an expert home value analysis, i.e. a listing appointment. And then we want to let them know we're going to send out monthly reports, like the monthly reports that we shared with you earlier that you can use to follow up and help get referrals and be able to get prospects. And then just want to treat them and let them know all the things that we provide and that we have available. So what happens is not only do they have this tremendous tool to understand, all right, this is everything available to me. They feel special because we're treating them like a client. And then I've got a tool for anyone who is interested in thinking of buying or selling a home that I know, I can just say, you know what? I could tell you about Gary, or I could just send you his client welcome kit. Check it out.
Yeah, and by the way, this is another great tool. If you want to print a few of these and have them at your open houses, really powerful tools to share with people and educate them.
I know I have a little mention there that this we offer this particular template as a retail value of $597. Stay tuned. Later in today's presentation, we're going to share with you how you can get that without spending $597. Now, let's move on to a script to take control of the appointment. So we've generated the listing appointment. We've sent information out beforehand to be able to really, we've done the initial consultation. We've sent them our property marketing plan. We've sent them our client welcome kit. Now we're ready to do the listing presentation or the listing appointment itself. So from the very beginning, Gary, you say it's very important to have control. Why?
Well, so remember that word I was talking about? Differentiation.
Yes.
This is typically what happens when people show up to a listing appointment. Let's say I'm the agent.
Okay.
And you open the door.
Hello, Gary.
Hey, Chris, thank you so much for having me at your house.
Hey, would you like to come on in and take a tour of the house?
Sure, let's do that. That's what typically happens. But remember, we want to differentiate ourselves. And what I also just did, Chris, is I just gave over control of that listing appointment. Whose listing appointment is that now?
It's the clients.
It's the clients. They're in charge now. I don't want that.
That's like going to a doctor and saying, now here's the way this is going to go, doc. You're going to give me an x-ray of my forelimbus apparatus, and then here's what we're going to do. We're going to review that. I mean, like, the patient doesn't tell the doctor what's going to happen.
No, the doctor does. And we're elevating to that same level of professionalism. So instead, we go like this.
Hello, Gary.
Hey, Chris. Thank you so much for having me at your home.
Well, hey, would you like to come on in and take a tour of the house?
Yes, Chris, I cannot wait to inspect your home with you. And first, we have some information to review. Would you mind if we sit down next to each other at your kitchen table to talk?
Yeah, sure, come on.
Differentiation, took control of the appointment, and all of a sudden, things start seeming a little bit different in the client's mind.
Right, well, I mean, you've set up your listing appointment process so that you're building massive amounts of trust, right? Because trust is a big decision. Our clients a big part of what's going to influence their decision and who they work with and whether they work with us. And how they work with us is the level of trust they have.
Yep.
And so your listing appointment, the entire process is set up to build trust, to be able to convey what's in it for them, to be able to show them the advantages in working with us and provide them with reasons to work with us. And then even this, to handle objections before they become an objections.
Oh, so that's another thing, is that if I'm understanding the concerns of the client and really addressing them up front, all of a sudden, if I handle those concerns do not become objections.
So what we do, you say in this script, we ask if we could sit down at the kitchen table to review some information. What information are we going to review?
Well, we're going to review everything that we talked about during the initial phone consultation. Now, this doesn't mean I'm going line by line.
Right.
What I do is I actually pull out my iPad and I set it between us, and they get to see the notes I took during that call.
Now, why do you do that?
Because a master salesperson never tells somebody anything that they can show them. And what I'm showing them is that I listen to you. I'm hearing you. Now, Chris, back in the day before this whole digital world, I would have my initial phone consultation. I would document in a Word document while we were talking. I would then print it out and send it to them. And the header was, "This is what I heard you say."
Oh, that's powerful.
It is the "this is what I heard you say" conversation, because the number one thing that we as humans want is we want a connection with other human beings. It's just a fundamental need. And the way we do that is by communicating. And the more I can have you understand that I am listening to you and I'm really hearing and embodying what you say, the more trust it builds.
Got you. So by showing them, here's the copious notes that I took, they're also seeing that, gosh, Gary really pays a lot of attention to detail here.
Yes, and that is exactly what we want. We want them to understand you're my focus, and I am going to listen. And let me share a quick story with you, Chris. My younger brother's a realtor. He went on a listing appointment. It was a $7.5 million listing appointment. The seller actually invited 8 luxury agents over at the same time to hold the same appointment.
Talk about being intimidating.
Intimidated. And my brother, he said, yeah, one of the realtors actually pulled up and saw all the other realtors and turned around and drove off. It was like, I can't deal with this. So they went in, they met with the seller. My brother got that listing. You know why?
Why?
He's the only agent who took copious amounts of notes while they were touring the house.
Gotcha.
The seller called him and said, "You're the only one who listened to me."
And this is how you show them you were listening to them, is by taking the notes and
is
showing
it.
them. A little side tip, don't put notes for yourself in here. Just put notes that you know that they're going to see in there. So
Yes.
just document what they say. Don't add anything. Don't take anything away. Just document what they say. Now, after we've had that conversation, you do something a little bit differently, because remember when we said, I can't wait to inspect your home?
Yes.
Well, now it's time to do that home inspection, or if you want to call it analysis, because it's not an actual inspection. It's like we're just going to assess and analyze the home.
That's exactly right. And so this is what I do. I use a tool called Evernote, and I have a template for this as well. It's my listing appointment template. And we go through and we document everything about the house. Now, I have scripts and dialogues of exactly how to do this, but suffice it to say, it's different than touring a house.
Gotcha. So you're going through room by room,
Yep.
and you're taking photos.
Yep.
You're documenting what they're saying.
Yep.
What do you tell them about when you're inspecting the home with the client? What do you tell them to do?
I say, okay, Chris, so now it's time for us to inspect your home together. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my iPad and I'm going to document everything about your house. And here's what I need from you. I need you to walk side by side with me. This is why. I want them seeing what I'm doing differently with my iPad. And I would love for you to share with me everything that you love about each room of your house and the lifestyle that it affords you. And while you're doing that, I'm going to document that. I'm going to take a lot of photos. These are for internal purposes only. And then also, Chris, if we get into a room and something pops into your mind, you're like, oh, you know what, I forgot. We need to paint this room, or any sort of repairs or updates in that room, go ahead and let me know about that as well.
Gotcha. So you're documenting, you're inspecting the home, you're documenting, they're seeing you do it, right? And they're getting the impression that, well,
This is different.
He's really taking this seriously,
Yes.
right? The other person wasn't doing this.
No, and that's what we show up for listing appointments. We're not terribly prepared, and we're not documenting at this level. And then the client does not feel like they were heard.
Gotcha. So after we inspect the home, we sit down at the kitchen table, and
Yep.
it's time to review what you refer to as the marketing proposal. What's a marketing proposal?
It's a listing presentation, Chris. It's just we name it differently. Why do we name it differently? Differentiation.
So we stand apart. Plus,
Yeah.
they don't know what a listing presentation is, right? Like marketing proposal is more language that they would understand.
Exactly.
So I wanted to cover this next script, which I got to show one of the slides from your listing presentation.
Okay.
But it's a script to show the client what's in it for them if they decide to work with us,
Yes,
right?
with them. So sharing the differentiation points is great, but until you show them what's in it for them, it doesn't matter to them.
Right. So because we all look the same, we all seem to be the same, and so if we're all the same, they're just going to choose based on the lowest common denominator, i.e. price. So one of the slides that you have in the listing presentation is a comparison of how we perform against the market.
Now, this is the most important slide that I have in the entire listing presentation, because what this is, and as I describe this to our client, well, do you just want to role play real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I say, okay, oh, by the way, here's a huge tip. On every single slide, start the conversation with a question. So, Chris, do you like statistics?
They don't lie.
They don't lie, and I like them as well. But I also like them because it always is very important for me to understand how well, write this down, how well we at my firm are outperforming the market. And the reason that's important is that when I'm outperforming the market, you make more money and you sell your house faster, the WIFM. So Chris, let's take a look at the two most important statistics that we track. Number one, how quickly houses are selling and for how much.
Gotcha.
And so then we get into the numbers and we talk about what's in it for them.
Now you do a little technique here to make
I do.
the numbers very concrete, in particular the list to sales price ratio, because someone's looking at that car, 98%, 101%, it doesn't quite, it's not concrete to them yet. So
Yep.
what do you do?
So what I do is I actually calculate, I don't remember what this is.
I think it's 3.45%.
3.45. So I calculate and I say, okay, Chris, we talk about average days on market, that's fine. Then we talk about how much homes sell for. Now, Chris, let's assume that we sell your house for $350,000. Now, on average, what that means is that on average, we are going to earn you $12,075 more than the average realtor. Now, that's a lot of money, isn't it?
Wow, so now you actually just took that percentage point and you made it real by calculating the actual numbers so that they
Yep.
could see that number.
And then, here's what I did. I just put the phone down between us and I make sure that my phone screen does not turn off.
So you just leave that number up there. They're always thinking, I got 12,000 reasons to work with Gary
That's
now, right?
exactly right.
Another thing you just did there is you just did a little jujitsu ninja drop by saying, assuming your home sells for this much money. Now, during the initial consultation, you learned that they thought their home was going to sell for $400,000.
Right. But in all of my research and then seeing the house, I know that the house is actually market value is $350,000. So what I did is I brought that forth in a meaningful way, but a very nice, soft way, and I introduced the fact that their house is actually worth $350,000 and how much more money they're going to make with me.
You're planting a seed because we're not talking about the price yet, but we're just planting the seed so that we can, the last thing we want to do is to get to that pricing conversation, like bang them over the head the first time they're, they know that. I mean, how often have you ever run into a client where they felt like their home was worth less than what the market was willing to pay for it, right? Very
Chris,
infrequently.
in my career, I have sold thousands of houses. Not once did they think their house was worth less than it actually was.
Okay, so this a very effective script that not only shows what's in it for them, but for all of those reasons of being able to plant that seed, to be able to make concrete one of the differences, which is the number, right? How we're going to perform against the market on average, which really leads us then, I think we already did this script. When you sell your home with my firm, on average, you'll earn 3.45%, which means you'll earn, and then you calculate.
What that means to you is this.
Gotcha. All right, so let's move on, because now that we made this promise, we really want, one of the questions that they probably are not going to ask, but is left in their mind is, all right, so you can do that, but how are you going to?
How do you do that? Now, Chris, I want to share you. I had a very good friend I played poker with for 7 years. Every Tuesday night I played poker with this guy. And I went over to his house to pick him up to go out on the boat. And he said, hey, you know, Heather and I are thinking of selling our house. Can you sell it for us? And I'm like, oh, sure, let's just take a look and I'll tell you what you need to get done. And then we can talk about what your home is worth. So we did that. I did not show him how I perform what I do. And the next week I showed up at his house for poker.
Someone else's sign in the yard.
Somebody else's sign was in his yard. And it's because I was a dagger in my heart. And I was like, dude, can you just go ahead and twist that? And the other guys at that poker night would not let it go. It was the most painful evening. I was like, oh my gosh. But here's the
I hope
thing.
you won some money that night at least.
And that's the other thing is my focus was so gone that I lost all my money. But here's the point is that you need to show them how you're going to do this.
Well,
Because if you don't show them how you're going to do it, they think that you don't do it.
you know, one of the things we got to know is really what they want, right? So in order to show them how we're going to do it, we also want to address some really big concerns because, you know, a big part of any sales process, and a listing appointment is a sales process, is educating the client.
Yes.
Right? You have to educate them so they know what the heck is happening.
Yeah.
And so one of the things we want to understand very clearly is what do sellers want? Well, according to the National Association of Realtors, in their profile of home buyer and seller report that they publish every single year, the number one thing, and this hasn't changed, the number one thing that home sellers want for us to do for them is to market the home to prospective buyers. That's a thing that they don't know how to do. I mean, they think they know what the price of the home is worth, so they don't think they need us for that.
Right.
But they know they need, they know, and what they want from us is to market that home to prospective buyers. The question is, of course, well, where are you going to market the home? And, well, you need to market online.
By the way, this is an exceptional graph that you can get from the National Association of Realtors, the profile of home buyers and sellers. The reason this is important, and I actually like to share this with my clients, is you can use this script. Chris, if you woke up tomorrow morning and turned to your wife and said, hey, you know what? We should buy a different house. Can you share with me, where's the first place you're going to go to start looking for a house?
I go online.
You know what, Chris? You're not alone. And in fact, listen to this script. According to the National Association of Realtors, last year, over 95% of home buyers started their home search online. And the reason, this is the WIFM, the reason that's important to you is that if we know where the home buyers are, it's critical that we are marketing your home extensively online. Oh, there's the script.
Right, so you can say, did you know over 95, I mean, like, you can modify it to make it your own because you are using it as in dialogue or in role play.
Right.
But sort of to paraphrase it is, hey, 95% of home buyers are using the internet as part of their search. Can you see it's why it's critical to hire a firm using advanced online marketing strategies?
This is planting that seed again because then we get into showing them how we do that.
And this is a big part of Gary's listing presentation, i.e. marketing proposal, is literally sharing with the client what we do and what we're going to do to market the home online. Right?
Absolutely. And by the way, this is where you just throw everything in there that you're going to do to market their home.
Because you just want to make sure that you've got it covered. You want to make it a discussion point. Now remember, what did we send them before the appointment? We sent them our property marketing plan.
That's exactly right, which is a detailed list. Now we're showing them in beautiful graphics what that actually means to them, and we're having a conversation.
Well, we got to have the conversation because one is, you know, some people, they probably didn't read it. You know, a lot of people are like, yeah, and then
I don't care if they read it. If they see it and they're like, holy cow, that's a lot.
But now what we want to do is we want to cement, hey, here's how we're going to perform. On average, we're going to earn you 3.45% more. Remember, we got 12,000 reasons why you want to work with us.
Right.
Here's how we're going to do it. We got to cement that conversation as part of this discussion. So we just have a couple of slides in here, and each one we're highlighting and talking a little bit about what we do, right?
Absolutely.
And so you're changing the mode of the communication. It really begs the question, what are you telling your clients about how you're going to market those listings online? Because if we don't explain what we're going to do, what are they going to fill in the blanks with?
Well, they assume that we're putting the sign in the yard, we put the home in the MLS, and then we sit back and we pray that the house sells. And this is why. because they actually believe that that's what you do. And this is the number one reason why they ask you, will you discount your commission? Because, Chris, if you walked up into Office Depot today and you needed just a blue pen, and you went up and you start looking at all the blue pens and you're like, okay, they all have the same utility, they're going to do the same thing, how do you choose which pen to purchase?
Cheapest one.
The cheapest one. So if you believe that all realtors do exactly the same thing, how do you choose the realtor to sell your house?
Gotcha. Well,
the cheapest
one. So by explaining to them everything that we do, then all of a sudden, now they're looking at it and saying, well, Gary's going to do all this. You know, I don't think the other person that I know does any of this stuff. They didn't send me a property marketing plan. It wasn't part of the conversation. It was just, hey, you know, let me list your home. And so, and I do better than everybody else. So by the way, I'm going to talk more about this later, but we do offer Gary's listing presentation as a template. So if that's something you're interested in getting, stay tuned. Later in this presentation, I'm going to share with you how you can do that. Just as a reminder, we've sent that property marketing plan before the listing appointment, and it's a very effective way to be able to show sellers why they should hire you. Because now each thing that's listed in that property marketing plan, here's a little glimpse of one page from ours is about 10 pages, but each point in there is a point of differentiation. Of course, we're going to include the other stuff that we do that's similar to what they do, like put a sign in the yard and put in the MLS, but then we're going to share the kitchen sink in terms of everything else that we do.
And this is what's critically important, is if you share everything that you're going to do and your competition does not, what does the client automatically assume? That they don't do it.
That they don't do it. I mean, think about it. How many of your competitors are actually sending out a marketing plan? People will probably say, oh, aren't you afraid? What if they take their marketing plan and do something with it? Try to do the things. The consumer can't do these things, right?
And actually, it helps them understand everything that is required to sell a home at top dollar. And they look at it and they're like, yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah. Oh, and so now, too, this is a documentation. It's a documented record of everything that we're going to do to earn the fees that we charge.
Yeah, yes. So justification for the fees that you charge. This is another point that will actually help us justify and demand our listing fee and stop this objection
of, will you discount your fees?
So there you go. We've got to share all of this. This is the power behind everything.
Let's talk closing strategies, because we can like razzle dazzle them all day long.
Yep.
But if we don't close the appointment and close it so that we walk away with a signed listing agreement, then we miss the boat.
So this is actually a really powerful thing to pay attention to, because one thing I find, Chris, is that we lack in closing skills. We don't go for the ask.
Right.
We can show them all day long and just assume, well, you ready to sign? That doesn't work that way.
Well, a lot of times I think people haven't prepared the conversation
Exactly.
to do the close.
And so this actually starts during the initial phone consultation.
Oh, really? That early?
So what I'm doing is I'm educating the seller on exactly what's going to happen during our appointment. And I close with this. Now, Chris, you know, this is our process. This is what's going to happen during our appointment. Now, at the end of our appointment, if we both assume that we're a great fit for one another, well, what we'll do is we're going to review my marketing agreement, we'll sign it on the iPad, and I'll get started to work for you.
All right, so from before you're even there, you're educating them on the process that's going to take place.
You got it.
And then the expectation is that if we're a fit, we're signing paperwork and we're off to the races.
Absolutely. So I share it then I also share it as soon as we sit down at their kitchen table. I say, hey, remember when we talked on the phone? I just wanted to show you this is our process that we're going to follow today. And at the end of us working together, if we both assume that we're a really good fit for one another, well, we're going to review and sign the marketing agreement.
Gotcha. And so this is another slide from your listing presentation.
Yep.
I wanted to bring in price as part of this. I know this isn't actually part of the closing strategy, but it is definitely an important conversation to make sure we handle correctly, because it prevents us from closing if we don't do this well.
Yes.
Right? So if we don't handle the pricing conversation well, it becomes an obstacle that's difficult for us to overcome later when it comes time to close, right?
Absolutely. So we need to handle that pricing, because it can't be a point of contention where you think your house is worth 400 and I'm telling you it's worth 350, then all of a sudden you want to hire somebody else because so and so said they'd list it for 400.
Right. So what we have to do is educate them. You educate them during the listing appointment,
right?
During the marketing proposal phase. You educate them on the pricing strategies where, there's really a couple of levers that you have. You have price and you have preparation, but what that does is it creates different situations or different strategies in how to price the home. Can you talk a little bit about how you have this conversation?
So remember I said we start each slide with a question. I would say something like this. So Chris, have you ever walked into a house and you're like, oh, this is a pretty nice house, and you look at the price and you instantly know that house is overpriced?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Like
you don't have to walk in the house. You can go look online and you see it, right?
Absolutely. So how does that make you feel about that home?
I mean, it's overpriced. There's no way I'd buy it.
So you're exactly right. That is what we call being priced out of the market. And when you price your home out of the market, what happens is people say the exact same thing and they never go and see the house, which means they never get to experience how beautiful your home is. And then if they ever do make an offer on your house, they're going to lowball like crazy. Now, we don't want to do that with your home, do we?
No.
Great. Now let's talk about a different situation. Have you ever seen a house online and you're like, yeah, that's a little overpriced, but we'll go look at it anyway? Well, this is actually in a more dangerous place to be. This is what we call limbo land. When homes are priced just above what we think that a house will sell for, because we want to give a little wiggle room to negotiate, what happens is people walk in the house, they may or may not make an offer, but if they do, they're going to lowball you, and ultimately your house is going to sell for below market.
You have to chase the price down if you're really wanting to sell, right?
That's exactly right.
Right, so you have to do price reduction after price reduction, and we've all seen those homes where price reduction after price reduction,
and then you
chasing
finally
it down.
hit it.
And usually it goes well below what the actual market value was because people look at the history and say, what's wrong with the house?
Exactly. Now, Chris, can you see how we don't want to do that with your home?
No.
No, of course not. What we want to do is we want to price your home at market value, because here's what typically happens. As you saw, when we sell our homes, we're selling them for 101.7% of ask price on average. Well, the way we do that is make sure that your home is in pristine condition, appropriately priced, and we drive demand to the house and we get multiple offers to drive the price up. Now, doesn't that sound like a much better place to be?
So yes, and then what you do is you review the information, right? You have a way of either reviewing the information or just sharing them what the market's willing to bear.
So at the end of the marketing proposal, I say, okay, Chris, now it's time to have the pricing strategy conversation. Now, I have a lot of data that I've gone through to show what a buyer is willing to pay for your home. Not what I think your home is worth. What a buyer is willing to pay for your home. Now, Chris, we can go through that information, go line by line, house by house, photo by photo, and we're still going to get to the same end of you finding out what a buyer is willing to pay. And that'll take about 20 to 30 minutes, or I can just tell you what the research says.
9 out of 10 times they probably just say this.
Unless they're like a scientist or an engineer, they're like, no, just tell me. And at this point, we've built enough trust through the entire process of my listing appointment process that they're like, just tell me. And I say, okay, what the data says is a buyer is willing to pay $350,000 for your home. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the net sheet that is going to show you how much money you actually walk away with.
So you don't ask, what do you think of the price? You just move right on to the next phase.
Yes.
Right?
Why ever introduce a question that's going to prompt an objection? No, it's not, what do you think? Because I know what they think. They want more.
Right.
But
that doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
And the other thing is you place it on what the market is willing to pay, not what I think the home is worth.
Right,
so
you got it.
All important. So then what you do is you close it up by saying, how do you close up to actually sign the agreement?
So I say, once we get through the pricing and the net sheet, I say, now Chris, I don't know about you, but over the last 90 minutes together, I've really gotten to know you, I've gotten to know your situation, and really fallen in love with your house. And at this point, I think we're a really good fit for one another, don't you?
Yes.
Great. Let's go ahead and review the marketing proposal and sign it so I can get to work.
Gotcha. All right. So that's the entire process. I mentioned earlier that I wanted to make some of the templates available. So if you want the templates that we shared earlier today, the client welcome kit template, and you would like Gary's listing presentation template, you can get these templates when you join our club. Okay, we have a club that is a monthly membership where you will be able to get access to those very same templates instantly download them and start using them. Now, our club is going to give you access to our entire real estate training library with hundreds of topics and solutions, including listing appointments, Facebook advertising, social media marketing, working with buyers and sellers, and even how to take your entire practice online and go digital. There's hundreds of downloadable tools, templates saving you countless hours, such as listing presentation templates, marketing plans, advertising templates, and even home buyer and seller guides. Even the templates that we shared today during today's presentation are included in there. In addition to that, you'll get a digital marketing campaign every single month to ramp up your stream of leads. It includes prospecting letters, emails, social media posts, referral tools, and everything you need to bring in more clients to work with. Here's a sample campaign we had from a previous month where we show you the blog post, the newsletter, prospecting letters, prospecting scripts, social posts, and even articles to share with the people that you know. When you join the club, you're also going to get a marketing website with monthly blog posts posted to your site automatically. It also includes landing pages to market listings and for lead generation. This marketing website is meant to complement your existing web presence and make it easy for clients to find you online. You even get access to Gary, myself, and our entire team on live training sessions. Get your real estate, tech, sales, and marketing questions answered on 2 group coaching sessions every single month. The club includes a marketing suite where you can easily send email campaigns and newsletters out to the people that are in your database. When you join our club, you get the templates. You can join the club for only $67 today and get access to all of these things. You can easily cancel online, hassle-free, no questions asked. There's no contract, there's no commitment when you choose to join our club. We've got so many client reports where they've had success. Will shares with us, great session, can't thank you enough. Our business has already more than doubled since joining the Paperless Agent last December. We closed over $6.5 million so far and have another $1 million pending. Now, when you join the club today, I'm also going to throw in an extra bonus gift, which is our digital property marketing plan. It's the same property marketing plan that we send out to our clients. It's a template. You can modify it, customize it, make it your own, and start using it today. I wanted to share a story from Teresa, another one of our clients, who says, I want to say a huge thank you to the PA team, the Paperless Agent team. Thank you, Gary and Jordan and Chris, and the whole team behind the scenes. We actually tripled our income in 2017 over 2016. We sold over $9 million, all because we followed the Paperless Agent plan. We started doing open houses again, and we started using the sales action plans, and we reignited our client contacts. We had been with another office for 13 years and never had this level of marketing. The saying goes, plan your work your plan. The Paperless Agent gives you the plan, you just need to work it, and thank you to everyone on the private Facebook group who shares so generously. So when you join our club, you're going to get Gary's listing presentation template as well as the scripts that go along with that. You're going to get that client welcome kit template that you can start sending out to your prospects and the clients before you show up on a listing appointment. And when you sign up today for our club, today only, you're going to get that property marketing plan template. For all of this, when you join the club for only $67.
All right, so here's what you need to do is as we get to Q&A, just click on that blue button that says Join Club Now. We just put it up over there in the chat section. I think Kyle just posted it in the chat as well. So keep your questions coming. We're going to get to Q&A, but first I want you to make sure that you take advantage of this offer that we have for you and go sign up as we get to Q&A. Also, I did want to share with you a little bit about what's going to happen as soon as you sign up. Number one, you're going to get a couple different emails. And if you don't see them in your inbox, go to your spam folder, and if it's not there and you're using Gmail, go to your promotions tab. It's going to have your login information, and you'll also receive a receipt for the first month. As Chris said, this is a monthly subscription, and you can cancel at any time. If you get in there and you download the templates and scripts and you start using it, all of a sudden you can say, you know what, I'm done. I don't think they will.
I hope you don't.
I hope you don't, but you absolutely can. So make sure you go do that now, and you're going to be able to log in and download these templates. By the way, these templates are in either Microsoft or in Apple software, so you'll be able to use it whatever system you're using. And we show you how you can easily go in and customize these templates for exactly your brand, your name, and your specific offers that you make. So like I said, go click on that blue button now and keep your questions coming so we can get to them. Sylvana says, Canadian content. Why yes, Sylvana, we do have Canadian content. So in that monthly e-newsletter and that monthly marketing pack that you get is if the content is United States specific, we duplicate it and create Canadian specific content for you. So you're not left out. We have about, was it 12%?
Something like that, yeah.
About 12% of our coaching club members are our friends north of the border, so you're taken care of there. All right, next question we have. Lori says, now, in all of this, with these stats, what stats can we use if I'm a new agent?
Oh, in terms of like the going back to that one slide,
Right, yeah.
where it shows how the market performs versus how our team performs.
Yep.
Well, I think the emphasis there is the numbers that we share. It's our firm's number, not just my individual number.
That is the key, is that these are your firm's numbers. So you need to go to your broker and get these statistics. Now, if you know how to pull your statistics from the MLS, which that's where I get my statistics, you can just go grab your firm's statistics versus your entire MLS and find these stats, and that's how you do that.
But if you're a new agent, ask your broker for some help here, right?
Absolutely. Your broker is here to help you. So say, hey, I just joined this new program called the Paperless Agent Coaching Club. I have this new listing presentation template, and I need these statistics. Can you help me?
Gotcha.
All right. Next question. Annette says, are the templates customizable?
Absolutely.
100%.
They wouldn't be useful if they were just our logos and stuff on there, but yeah,
No.
you can when you download them, all the templates, like Gary said, they're going to be in Keynote or PowerPoint or Microsoft Word or Apple Pages, so it's cross-platform, and you'll just go in there, change the templates, change the images, change the names, but it should save you a significant amount of time by not having to go recreate this stuff on your own. It takes time to build these things out. More time than you really want to spend, so you can just get to the actual activity of prospecting, of the actual activity of going on listing appointments, the actual activity that is going to produce the result you want, not just spending countless hours working on a presentation or a property marketing plan or a client welcome kit template. So save yourself a tremendous amount of time, join the club, download these features so that you can start using them right away.
Absolutely. Next question, David says, do you guys have a marketing program for selling a new listing aimed at getting a buyer without an agent? So the question is, how do I target buyers who don't have agents for my listings?
Oh, well, I mean, I think one of the ways is holding open houses has always been an
Absolutely.
effective way to do that. What are some of the other ways that you would do it?
I would also use Facebook ad campaigns in order to drive traffic to my landing page.
Oh, yeah.
So, if I go out there and I start attracting them, absolutely, that's
Well,
important.
One of the ways that you can market is just go direct to the buyer, right? So you can use tools like Facebook, you can use tools like Google, not just posting on Facebook, but actually using their advertising tools, which are pretty easy to use. We talk about them in our training library. We have lots of sessions on or training content on how to use the Facebook advertising platform. But yeah, you can bypass everything and just go right to the consumer so that you can market to them and make direct offers of help, to ask a question about that. You just got to make sure you follow up. I think that's one of the biggest issues that we see and that we hear about statistically is that we don't respond to inquiries, whether it be online or via telephone. And yeah, so we lose those opportunities. So make sure if you're going to do that type of marketing that you follow up and that you respond.
Absolutely. This is a really good question. Jim Rogers says, how necessary is it with today's technology to have a website?
Ooh.
You know what, Chris? I'm actually going to ask you to pull up one of our websites, because when you join the club today, you're going to get an agent marketing website. And Chris, would you pull mine up so people can see that? So this is exactly the type of website you're going to receive. And Chris, I would love to find out from you, why in the world do we even need a website in today's market?
Well, here's something that will likely happen with today's technology. So I'm going to give you 1, 2, probably 3 reasons why a website still has a lot of value.
Okay.
And why you're going to want to have control of that website and not rely on somebody else. So one of the things that's going to happen over the course of business is someone is going to research you online. I mean, here's what happens. Even if they were referred, even if they're referred to you, or even if it's a past client, it's not like they got your information readily at hand. So even if it was a past client who's just looking up your phone number or trying to figure out how to get a hold of you,
right,
they're going to come here and search you online.
They are absolutely going to search you online. And so what happens if you have no presence online?
Then it corrodes trust. It erodes trust, because what happens if they go online looking for you and it's hard for them to find you? They're like, oh, does this guy even sell real estate anyway?
Yeah.
So
all of a sudden, it looks like you're not even in business any longer.
So our site usually shows up after, you give it some time. The search engine optimization process takes time, but eventually, if you do it right, it's going to show up. Here's one of the search results. So here's what happens though. A lot of us might have a website, but we haven't updated that thing since 1982, before the internet was even a thing, right? So what we do is we make sure that we post this information regularly on your behalf so that it looks like, oh, he's active online, and this continues to build trust because it demonstrates your competence by sharing all of these real estate related topics connected to that monthly marketing campaign we provide. Another thing is, if you're going to market listings, do you want to invest money? Do you want to invest energy? Do you want to create marketing materials that send people to somebody else's website or to one that you control?
I want it coming to mine.
Right, so if you're going to market a listing, don't you want that going to you so that they can learn more about you, and then if they have a question about the house, that they ask you instead of somebody else, right? So a good landing page, for example, is going to have lots of photos because that's what they want. You might include video. You got to make sure there's call to action to make sure that they can ask you questions about that. So do you need a website? I always view the website as the hub of all of your digital marketing. Because it is to that hub, that destination, that you want to send all the people to. Because here's what happens. You might market it on Facebook. You might market it in all these different places, even Craigslist and so on and so forth. But where do you want them going when they have a question about the home? Don't you want them coming back to you? I mean, here's the thing. Let's say you only relied on the home search sites. You know that your name is not going to show up next to that listing if they have a question. Somebody else's is. So when it comes down to marketing a listing, I like to have that control, but it's more than just marketing the listing. It's also having that online presence. It's also having an regularly updated presence that's going to convey the competence so that they can trust you more by saying, you know what, Gary must know what he's talking about. He's always publishing these blog articles about real estate related stuff. All right. Now, what I would even take it a step further, not just having the website, but as part of the monthly marketing that we do, is that we want to make sure every month we've got another reason to communicate with our clients, not just to pick up the phone and call, but send them an email with a link to the blog post that you're posting so that they're constantly receiving this value, and they're receiving it in different modalities of communication. So even though they might see it on social media, well, if they see it via email, the same related information, that's okay. If they get a voicemail from you or they talk to you on the phone about the same thing, that's okay. It's just when they get the same message from the same medium over and over and over again that they view it as spam. But you change the medium, you change the format that it's coming, and then it's seen as valuable because it's like, oh, it's a reminder. Oh, I meant to get a hold of Gary. Oh, I meant to talk to Gary. We have to do these things so that we can implement this concept of omnipresent marketing, where we are in front of our clients at all times in all places, so they never have a real estate related conversation and don't think of us. We always want them to think of us.
So huge is that being top of mind anytime the two words real and estate
come together
in the same sentence, we need to be there. So
we need to enter into their mind, which only happens if we're regularly sending this information out. And like I said, it all comes back to the website, because the website is the glue that holds all of that stuff together. It's the hub of the communication. So my answer, Jim, is that yes, you need a website. You don't need a full IDX, integrated blown website. Our websites that we provide are just simple marketing sites to enable you to have a strong online presence and to be able to implement marketing campaigns, not meant to be that full IDX solution. You probably don't need that. Your firm might have that already. So, but being able to represent yourself well and to be able to represent your sellers well is what having a good website is all about.
Sylvana asks a really good question, kind of on the tail end of the whole website conversation, and I'm going to expand it a little bit and to add a little here. She says, I already have an in-house website. Can these two be linked? I'm going to actually expand that to say, Chris, I already have a website. Should I use this one too?
Oh yeah. So remember when we did just a couple of moments ago, I searched for you online. Google has done studies on this, and what they have found is that the more search results that show up, the greater the trust the consumer has in the organization or the individual that they have just searched for. So here's what happens. I search Gary Wise Austin, and I see that all of the search results on that page are about Gary Wise. That does something psychologically that says Gary's competent. Gary's a professional. Gary must know what he's doing. Now,
It starts building what?
it builds trust. Now, you might say, well, how does it do that? Well, let's talk about what happens if the opposite takes place. Let's say they Google Gary Wise Austin and none of the search results are about him. Like, it's like, wait a minute, how come Gary's not showing up online?
So can I share a story with you? When the web presences came around, I had just gotten into real estate. And I needed to build my own website and all this stuff. And so what's a natural thing to do? You Google yourself.
You Google yourself.
So I Googled myself and I was like, okay, what's going on here? And the very first page was littered with Gary Wise, pedophile, and prison. And it's because there was somebody in Austin with the same name who had been convicted of a crime and was in prison. And I'm like, oh no!
They're going to think I'm that guy.
Well, they didn't because his photo was there and he was this disgusting,
gnarly looking dude.
gnarly. But the thing is that I needed to get him off of page one very quickly. So can I do that with just one website?
No, you gotta have multiple search results show up.
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is a good one. Here's the thing: if you take the time to set up your search, your profiles, even on some of the other home search sites, that's another way to get things to show up. But if I had to choose between one of those home search sites and my own website, I want to make sure that my stuff is up there. So LinkedIn, Facebook, Yelp, my own websites, multiple websites if I have them. Heck, even like an About Me site. So if you have multiple sites, it's okay because all you're doing is you're making an investment to make sure that more of those search results that are going to show up. And by the way, Google did a study. They found specifically in real estate that the majority of consumers, before they work with us or before they reach out to us, research us, underline this word, extensively, right? So they research us extensively online because they want to know, even if it's here's the thing. Back in the olden days, before there was internet, if a client referred us, what did that referral do? They probably called us or something like that. Well, these days, if a client refers us, they immediately go online and they search us.
And they're searching.
They want, like, who am I going to be talking to here?
And it's really important for us to be able to control what they're seeing.
Yeah, as much as we possibly can. And here's the thing. I like to go beyond just trying to control it, but I want the impression, because that might be the first impression they have about us, is what they see online.
Yeah.
I want that impression to convey trust. I want that impression to actually give us an advantage over other people that they might have Googled, right? So if they Google Gary, it's all these great results and great information, and there's videos, and they get a sense of who we are. They research the competition, and they're like, they don't have any of this stuff.
Yeah, and so the more you show like that, the more, remember that word, differentiation? Yeah. This is what we're after today. So if you're after differentiation, if you want the knowledge, the experience, the trust building tools, the scripts, the dialogues, and the templates, go click on Join Club now and get started right now, because when you join during this webcast, you get that property marketing plan template as a gift. So go do that right now. Next question we have is, Sylvana says, can your emails be saved as paper copies for direct mailings? Absolutely.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get it in a PDF format, and they'll be double-sided. You can go have that printed and mail it out. Absolutely.
Yeah, you actually get, when the entire monthly campaign that you get every month, it's a big, there's a lot of stuff in there. I don't want to go through all of the information in there because it's a full marketing campaign for you to implement. In addition to having emails and newsletters and reports and social media stuff, there's even a marketing, there's a calendar in there telling you what to do on which day, complete with instructions so that you're not left hanging on, what do I do with this next? Anything that is customizable or that's necessary to customize, it's provided to you in a format that you can customize it. So for example, if you wanted to print it out, you just download it, modify it in Word or Pages or whatever word processing tool that you're using, modify it, make it your own printout, and send it out. Here's what I would suggest. I would have different layers or levels of intensity on your communication based on the different categorizations that you have within your database, right? So if you have people who are A+ clients, send them the email, but also print it off and send them the printed copy with a personal note, right? If it's a B client, just send them the email version, right? And that's going to be fine. But you can have higher levels of higher forms of communication or additional communication And there are lots of ways to take what we're providing with you every single month and improvise a little bit to what works with you. I'll give you an example. We provide these monthly reports. Let me show you an example of one of the ones that we provided recently. So we provided our clients, one of the months was talking about the Home Buyer's Guide to Getting Mortgage Ready. It's a 2-page report, lots of details about that topic. Well, that's one of the newsletter pieces that you could send out. Well, one of our clients said, you know what, I took this one, I printed out hardcover copies on nice glossy paper, and I took it to an open house as a handout.
That's exactly what I was about to say, because Anthony just said, do you ever print your templates and take them to a meeting or provide them to prospective clients?
Yes.
Yes. You're getting it here. Yes. And we teach you how to do it, but it's very, very powerful to be able to do that. Give it to them at an open house. They'll read it in the car on the way to the next open house and go, oh wow, this is really good stuff.
Well, and this is customizable too. You can actually just drop your name and your information, your contact information, so they always have that readily available. If you got an open house, you can just staple a business card to it and hand it to them, right?
You got it. All right, so yes, you can do that. And like I said, you can get all of that today. You get that monthly e-newsletter. You get the, it's a whole marketing kit like Chris was talking about. You get the website. You get the 2 coaching sessions every single month. You get listing presentation templates and scripts. Our client welcome kit template that we're sending out before we actually meet with the client. And today only, when you sign up during this session, you're getting our property marketing plan template. Now, I want to share a quick story, Chris, before we get to our next question. This property marketing plan, I went on a listing appointment. It was about $1 million house, and I show up and I know that they're meeting with 7 other luxury agents. And I know who those agents are because I asked the prospective seller, oh, do you mind if I ask who they are? But, I might know them. They told me who they were meeting with, and I'm like, uh-oh, this is going to be a tough one. So I get there, and I had already shared the 8-week marketing plan. Well, the client hired me.
Oh.
And I always ask, because I need to know for my own edification, like, what worked?
Right.
So I said, gosh, I know you're meeting with 7 other highly qualified agents. Do you mind if I ask why you signed up with me?
What did they say?
They said that 8-week marketing plan was so detailed and so thorough that I saw that and I knew we had to hire you because nobody else was telling us what they're doing at that depth and level. And I was like, it made me so happy. I had to call you because you're the one who created it. I was like, yes! So you're going to get all of that when you sign up today. So go do that as we get to the next question. Mikhail was asking if you could pull up the slide about how to generate new leads.
Well, we had a few, right? We had a couple of different variations of scripts and ways to do that. So we talked about the questions to ask at an open house, right? To be able to find those people who are currently not represented, but to be able to have a conversation that leads to something meaningful and not just saying, hey, I'm available if you have questions. We talked about what to say when you're networking and meeting with people and they ask you the question on how is the market and being able to respond, but also be able to ask provocative questions designed to get them talking and to be able to understand, when will this person, are they interested in moving in the future, right? Not in the next 3 months, but maybe 6 months, 12 months. And that way I can know that, otherwise you're not going to know that they're moving, right? So, and being able to ask those questions. And then we also shared with you being able to send out, useful information every single month, like the ones, like the marketing campaigns that we provide you with, but sending out useful information and then following up and then making a relevant offer of help. And so those are 3 different strategies that I would suggest that you're constantly doing all of those things on an ongoing basis because it creates a 3-pronged approach to, it's essentially a marketing strategy, right? Where you're in the market interacting in person, like in open houses and doing that type of activity. You're going out and doing business development conversations with people and you're going to run into the conversation about how's the market doing. And then you're proactively reaching out for referred business and potentially repeat business, but generating that referred business by sending out useful information and making relevant offers of help to the people who already know you so that they have a reason to refer you.
Yes. So really, I love all of that because so I just also wanted to share this other story. One of those marketing campaigns, I didn't tell you this, Chris, but one of those marketing campaigns that we sent out was talking about, do you remodel or do you buy a different house? And it prompted some clients who were going to remodel their house to call and say, we were thinking about remodeling and then we read this and we're like, no, we're selling. Yeah. Can you come over? So it works.
Well, here's the thing. Here's why it works. People will look at some. You have to understand that when you're sending out real estate related information, it's not about like the exact topic. I mean, sometimes it works beautifully like that. But what you're doing, especially when you do this consistently over time, is that you're providing this information, and each time it produces an impression, right?
Yes.
So each time you send it out, they might not say anything, but there's an impression of, oh, that was thoughtful. Oh, that was nice of Gary to do that. Every time you communicate with them something of value. I don't mean harassing them but when you provide them with real value, the impression that's left in their mind is, that was thoughtful, that was useful. Now, you do that consistently over time, I assure you that when they have a conversation with somebody else and the conversation leads itself to being a real estate related conversation, like the friends telling them that they're moving, you're going to enter into their field of consciousness, right? Your name, but at that point, they may or may not say anything, but they're going to say, oh, my neighbor's thinking of moving. Bing, Gary's going to come to mind if you're doing it consistently. Now, here's the question. Will they say anything? That's the issue that we run into.
We need them to be able to say it.
Because they might not be like, oh yeah, I'm going to go out and just keep referring Gary. But if they selfishly have a reason to do so and we've made it easy for them, now they're going to refer us. So that's one of the reasons why we want to remind them of this Move Up Homebuyer program that we have. Yeah. So they've got a reason, a selfless reason to be able to say, or a selfish reason to be able to say, this is my friend. I want them to be helped by Gary because Gary has got something special to offer them. Here's the other thing, we got to make it easy. That's why using tools like that client welcome kit are so essential, is that if we rely on our clients to speak all the advantages of working with us, well, they're not going to know all the advantages. They'll have like, you got to work with Gary because of this, you got to work with Gary because of this, but they don't have like the words to be able to describe the entire experience, and that's what the client welcome kit does, is it just gives them a tool to say, Gary's awesome, you got to work with Gary, but don't take my word. Just here, I'm going to send you this thing. Yeah. It's this client welcome kit. It's got all this great stuff in there. You got to call them though, right? So now we've given them a tool to refer us. So we're providing them with this regular information. We're constantly, to your point, Gary, building trust, even when we're not there, right? Because we want to produce the right effect. Now here's the thing. Sending out useful real estate related information builds like a really high level of trust. Contrast that to the recipe cards that you were receiving when you first moved in, right? So a lot of people say, oh, just send out anything. Well, on the unfortunate side of just sending out anything is that an impression will be created. A reminder will be created. But ours is operating at this level because we're providing expertise, and the one that the other folks are providing is at this level because it's just like, generic
like,
stuff.
Meh. Yeah. Exactly, and I mean, so that's where you need to make sure that you're sending out really good quality stuff. And by the way, we have copywriters who are always producing this content for you. So,
and I don't mean if you're sending out recipes because you're a cook, I don't mean to knock that, but like the thing is, if you were a chef, that's a great thing for you to send out. If you own a restaurant, that's a great thing to send out. It's maybe during the holidays, if you want to send grandma's recipe for your favorite fruit cake, I get that, but don't make it your regular go-to strategy, because especially with this day with Google, people are like, well, I want to make something, they're just going to Google it really quick, right, unless it's really special. But then if you're sending out recipes every single month that are special recipes, you might be in the wrong business. Maybe you should be like
maybe you need to be a chef. All right, next question. By the way, we have a few more questions to get to, which means that you have a limited time to sign up with these offers. Go just click on Join Club now.
You know what, let me just do, before we get to the next question, let me just remind everybody of what they're going to get.
Okay.
So when you guys sign up today for the club, remember, you're going to get our Client Welcome Kit template, right, so that you're able to use this as a referral tool. Your clients will be able to use this to refer you. You're going to get a copy of Gary's entire listing presentation template. You're going to get those things when you join our club. When you join our club, you're going to get a real estate training library with hundreds of topics that we discussed. You're going to get tools and resources that you can download, customize, and make your own. You're going to get a full marketing campaign that you can use every single month to be able to send out to clients, to be able to send out to contacts, people in your database, and to be able to farm areas for you to cultivate that business. You're also going to get access to, you're going to get a website with blog posts posted on your behalf every single month with relevant real estate related information. And you're going to get access to Gary and myself on group coaching sessions twice a month. If you can't make it live, don't worry. We take a recording of it and post it online. You're also going to have access to a marketing suite. And when you sign up today, remember this is the feature that's available. The bonus gift that's only available today is our property marketing plan, where you're able to take this, be able to communicate to prospective sellers and really anybody. Here's what we do to market and sell homes, to differentiate yourself. So you're going to get all that stuff when you join the club. So you want to join the club today before the day gets away from us and you don't get that property marketing plan.
Yeah, do yourself a favor, do it right now as we get to Lori Cohen's question. Do you email the marketing plan before the initial meeting or do you mail it? So this is an interesting question, and what I do is I email it every time. However, what I want to share with you is a fundamental sales principle. What is the number one thing you give your client?
What they want.
You give them what they want. So if you're working in a marketplace where people still want that tangible printed material, print it and mail it.
Well, here's the thing.
Actually, here's what I used to do before I started doing this electronically. I would print our client welcome kit and I would hand deliver it to the house, drop it off.
I was going to say, if you've got the time, if you have the time, print it out, print it all out, deliver it. I mean, it's going to have an impact.
Ooh, what an impact!
Say, hey, and you can leave if they may not be there, just leave a little yellow sticky. Say, hey, I wanted to make sure you had this before our appointment. Please review it. Let me know if you have any questions before we meet together. Otherwise, I'll see you at this day and this time.
Yes.
Right. So now all of a sudden it's like, wow. Right. Wow. I got all this stuff to be able to preview, so that is going to create a high impress there. So if you've got the time, do it. If not, do it electronically. It's still going to have it's still going to have a very positive impression because no one else is sharing that information.
Silvana says, well, I'll just sum this up. Do you have support? Yes, we have a full team of support that are here to help you implement everything.
Yeah. Just email us at support@thepaperlessagent.com. They'll guide you to the right resources, guide you to the right tools, give you tips and advice if you have run into any challenges. Another thing that we have that I find just as useful, if not sometimes more useful, is when you join, you'll get access to our private Facebook group where we've got thousands of clients who are all just like you and just like us, working together to try and implement these strategies and really just to have successful real estate careers. And you would be amazed. I'm always blown away about the level of advice and the level of sharing that everyone in that private group shares, because
the collaboration is incredible.
I mean, when you have that collective power, when you've got all these people who are they're like geniuses when it comes to, because of the years of experience that we have, and they're generous with their time and energy. Gary and I could give you answers for a lot of stuff, but you take our answers, you'll run that through the community, you're going to have actually a better answer. Just because of the power of that mind share, collective mind share. So yes, the support is there, whether it's direct support from our team or even just being able to get tips and advice from people who are in the community.
You got it. So Stephanie asks a very good question, because I know we have a lot of new agents or less seasoned agents on our webcasts. Is this right for me if I'm a new agent? I'm going to answer this question.
Okay.
If this had been around when I first got into real estate, my real estate career trajectory would have been vastly different. And in fact, what this does is it gives you the right tools, the right scripts, the right resources to be able to compete against highly seasoned agents. This is really important, because otherwise you're just going to get the very common training and common education that will produce very common results.
Right.
What you need is an arsenal of uncommon tools and powerhouse to make sure that you can compete.
I think that's a huge issue, not just for new agents or people who are new to the industry. It is even an issue for people who've been around for a while, because here's change is a constant thing that's taking place in our industry. And the only way to combat change is by adding skills. It's by acquiring new skills. It's by acquiring new knowledge so that we can compete. You ask any person who's one of those ultra successful people, one of the principles or one of the habits that they have is to constantly be top grading their knowledge. And so what you're going to want to do as a new agent is you're starving for a competitive advantage. You're actually, you may not know this, but you're starving for ways to stand apart, because yeah, you are competing against people who've been in the industry. But even if you've been in the industry for a while, it's always getting tougher. I mean, Gary, you mentioned that you're always going, whenever you go on a listing appointment now, there's always competition. Was that always the case? No,
No, I mean, I used to go, before the whole digital explosion, I would be referred to somebody and I'd be the only agent going in for this appointment. I mean, it is much easier then.
If you got the listing appointment, you basically knew that it was in the bag, right?
Yes, and it is much more difficult now. It's much more competitive, and that's why we have to use all of these tools to differentiate ourselves so that we can compete, because we're all vying for the same dollar.
Well, and so even if you're new, you're starving for it. But if you've been around, there's only a handful of ways for you to continue to expand and increase your business or your career. If you wanted to sell more real estate, right? You can decrease the time frame so you're moving transactions faster. That's a good thing. Yeah. You want to increase the average sales price as well. That's another way to move the lever.
What better way to do that than to offer better tools and resources to your database?
So and if you're trying to do one of those two things, trying to sell things faster, or basically turn over faster so that you can move more homes, or if you're trying to level up the average sales price that you sell, well, you're going to have to acquire new skills to be able to handle those markets. It's the same thing, it's just sort of a different angle. Yep. The good thing is we've got, there's literally, in our training library, there's 5 years worth of training and tools and handling specific situations and being able to use different tools and technologies. If you're like, one of the things that you want to learn about is how to use Instagram, it's in there, right? If you want to learn how to use Facebook ads, it's in there. If you want to learn how to do a buyer tour, it's in there. Basically, it's because we have the cumulative knowledge of 5 years being able to pour it into this training library, you have access to it all.
Absolutely. So I highly encourage you to go sign up now. We're out of time. We're over time.
Goodness.
And so I wanted to thank you for being here with us today. Chris, thank you for putting this presentation together and co-hosting with me. This is amazing. I love this, and we hope that you really enjoyed this. And if you are joining with us today, make sure that you go in, you see what's available for you, and sign up for our next coaching session, because that's where you can learn a lot of highly valuable things as well. So go do that right now. And as Chris says,
we'll see you online. Take care. See you on the next coaching session. Bye.